Now, the prayer of agreement.
My name is Vanessa. I started coming to the church when I was about 20 years old. I used to come with my parents, and at the time, I didn't understand the value of the things that the pastor was teaching, was showing us. I knew that I was in college, I was going to finish soon, and I was going to have a job, I was going to have a perfect life. But things weren't as perfect. I started to feel sad. I started to have anxiety. I didn't want to go to the doctor because I had studied this and I knew that that wasn't going to help me. One night, I remember it very perfectly. I was in a room and I was crying because when I was at work, I used to feel like I wasn't able to perform and complete my job. It was like a panic attack. Although I didn't know at the moment, that I was experiencing like a panic attack. It was a panic attack. So that night, I spoke to God and I told him, you're the only one that can help me. You're the only one that, has a solution to my problems. I can't do this anymore. So when I went back to church, everything was different. It was as if it was my very first time in church. At first, I thought, who am I to receive the Holy Spirit? Because I used to think things very logically. And I stopped. I had to stop that. That was a process because for me, 2 + 2 had to be 4. I remember the pastor that day, he said, we're just going to seek the Holy Spirit. I said, okay. So I just started, seeking. I just started, praying and just worshiping God and honoring him. And it was nothing that I felt like, it wasn't like an emotion. It was just a certainty that I knew that day, he was inside of me. Like there was nothing else, no one else that could tell me that I wasn't of God and that God wasn't in me. And I knew that day that everything had changed. Everything that I had done was worth it. All the value that I gave to him, everything was worth it. After I received the Holy Spirit, I knew that all of the depression, things like that, they were spiritual. A lot of the people that I used to see in therapy, the children, they used to cut themselves. They used to have problems with their parents. A lot of adults as well, having problems with their spouse, with their husband, with their wife. One moment they felt one way and then the next moment they felt another way. And for me, I felt like in therapy, it was very hard for me to help them the way that I wanted to help them, the way that I knew that they needed help, things that only God could change. And so I decided not to continue practicing psychology, counseling because of that. And I, spoke to my job and they were fine with it. And they actually promoted me to become an executive director at a university where I work at. in Washington, D.C. for an office of admissions, and I oversee over 20 people. And so my job took me in a different direction. Things started to progress. I started to get promoted, and because of that, I was able to buy my own house by myself. And then after that, I bought my house for my mom too. So everything that I couldn't do before, I started to be able to do. And I was still the same person, but the difference was that the Holy Spirit was inside of me. So when before, even though I had an education, even though I was prepared, I wasn't able to do anything. I was a mess. I was sad. I was crying all the time. But then what changed was the Holy Spirit inside of me. For me, the Holy Spirit today is my life. It's everything. The Holy Spirit comes before everything and anything in my life. It comes before my family. It comes before my job. It comes before my time. It comes before me personally. I wouldn't be able to live without the Holy Spirit.
Hi, my name is Joy. I'm 59 years old. I'm in nursing. After I got laid off from my job after 25 years, then everything starts falling apart. I was depressed because I was wondering how my bills are going to pay because I couldn't find money to pay my bills, because I wasn't working. There's times like when I'm driving home and I have to go over a bridge, and it came to my mind to just drive off that bridge, and that's how depressed I was. And then after a while, they turned off my light. Yeah, my light turned off, so everything in my refrigerator just started rotten. Yeah, because I was so nervous that I didn't go home because I was afraid that, they're going to come to my door and knock and I'm going to get evicted. I went to my sister. I stayed there for a while until I was able to get the light back on. Still wasn't working. So I had to depend on my family. I was nervous because I was afraid that somebody's going to come to my door and just put me out because I wasn't paying any bills. After a while, I came back to the house. And that's when, as I opened the door, it smelled like, somebody died in there. When I opened the refrigerator, it's like, oh my God, I almost like fall on the floor because there was like flies. I cleaned up a little bit. And like the next day, that's when I was watching the TV and I saw the program. They took my name. They told me the nearest church I went, and the pastor, I told him what was going on, and he prayed for me, and he told me about the chain of prayers. I used to go every day, because with the worry, my blood pressure was going up, so I also need the healing on that. So I used to go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the whole week. Especially I went Friday just for the deliverance. I noticed gradually that my life started changing, you know. After probably a couple of weeks, I start getting phone calls for jobs. I was out of a job for like 2 years. I did my sacrifices. I first I didn't know how to tithe. That's how I learned how to tithe in the Universal Church. Everything started changing. I remember I started when I told my pastor about how my house, is going into foreclosure, and he prayed for me and he told me, not to worry. She said from the bank, she said, "Oh, Miss McLeod, you are you're approved." My house wasn't taken away. I had a car that every time it breaks down, the last time it broke down, it just left me in the middle of the street. And the place that it broke down was close to the car dealership. I just walked to the car dealership. And I said, my car just broke down. They got the car and we started doing the paperwork inside the dealer. Before that night was over, I ended up driving out. The other thing that fell into place was my family, because we were so far apart. Everybody was, doing their own thing, nobody talking to one another. When I go to the church, I always bring a folder with their pictures and I prayed for them all the time. And then everything just start happening. We start talking, they start calling me. I used to go on Wednesday for my salvation. I wanted the Holy Spirit because I know from the teachings that the Holy Spirit gives you power, it makes you strong, you know? And once you have that power inside of you, nothing is impossible for you. I used to be so weak, everything I cry, everything I go through, it's just tears. But now my tears are happy tears, because now the Holy Spirit is inside of me. And it's the assurance that the Holy Spirit gave me that just, it's unexplainable. I'm more humble. I am patient, because I have the fruit of the Spirit inside of me. I would say to everyone, the Holy Spirit is the best thing that could ever happen in someone's life. So, go for it. Nothing to lose, everything to gain.
These are results of faith.
I never stopped going to church, believing in God, but my life just, took a toll on me, for the last 5 years. To tell you the truth, sometimes I say bad words. I get angry, frustrated. Then I start to cry because I feel guilty inside me. I don't know what was inside me that make me to say those things to people, to snap. There are some things that I could really, avoid. But it's just because of what I'm going through. I'm taking out the anger on people. My daughter and I have a good relationship when we are all together. She moved out of the house, she got married, and I didn't attend the wedding either because I was so upset with her. And she stopped talking to me and I stopped talking to her. One day she called me out of nowhere. We talk. She kept coming to my house, we talk, we go out. Then I realized that this temper has to go. I put more effort again in prayers for my temper so that I stop hurting my daughter. I make the chain of prayers. I place all my kids in the envelope. I put their names and I put a sacrifice for them, for myself also, for my temper and everything. And God answered my prayers. My temper now is really improved, did improve. My temper did improve greatly. Now, I could if somebody did me wrong, I want to answer back. God is just holding my mouth, they don't say anything. Even at my job, people can see, the expression on my face, how happy I am. My relationship with my daughter, I give thanks to God because it's really great, wonderful. The day I received the Holy Spirit is in the church here.